Welcome to another edition of Strange New Pod. I'm your acting captain and host, MC Frodus, alongside the best bridge crew on the north side of the Canadian-American border.
What?
Vice Admiral Eric is here and would like the chance to bribble sit.
Yeah, damn straight. Damn straight.
Yeah.
It's almost potty training.
It's probably better than, or easier than, like, taking care of my kids. So, you know.
Yeah. And Captain Hawk is also here, and he also thinks that Wesley should call his mother.
Damn straight.
Right?
How could he go this long without calling her?
He has a sibling. Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? So, welcome back, guys. How are we doing?
We're doing okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Is how it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It is how it is.
It's Sunday. It's late, and
We tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Giraffe is still off with the Tal Shiar, and Julian was possibly kidnapped by Asencia. We don't know. We're still looking into it. And we are pre-recording this because the Women of Star Trek for Kamala call is going to be on Thursday, and we all want to go to that.
We don't want to compete against it either. So.
Oh yeah. But this week, it is our review of episodes 217, Brink, and 218, Touch of Grey. But first, Hawk, we need to thank our patron collective at the Ready Room level and above.
Gladly. So thanks once again to Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Tallulah, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Wee, Takako Nagumo, Fernando Nogales, SMK, Laura Linderman, Colin Davidson, Shatterhand 2049, Jesco, Michael Graham, Emily and Travis, Gildara, Cassie, Be Tella Right, Not Tella Wrong, Maggie Light, Tyrannokilicus, Wayne Ritz, Scone of Arc, Sean, Jay Howard, Anna Yurdadon, Mahalani Uchiyama, Matt Harker, Davey Willett, Tara Pollen, Slope 74, Rude Parakeet, Joshua Miller, Aaron W., Lanky Guy, Carl Angoli, Michael Kwan, Meredith, Caitlin, Elizabeth Dean, Jim McMahon, Sedano 317, Hookah Hair, 3 Fries Short, Cat Tip, Tripping the Reed Alert Over a Pineapple, Sean Manning, Asher, CBF, Chris Waterman, RHCB, Martin Simpson, Norman Buckwald, David Prime Hildebrand, Taryn J. Robinson, Rod Grenier, Eric the Red, Trouble, Jamie Roberts, Honeyberry, Paul Taylor Pitt, and Brett Jones. And as always, a big thanks to our Badmirals, our EP Simon Stager, Commander Chris Waterman, Taryn Polen, and Brett Jones. Thank you once again.
Yay!
Hey. Awesome. So we do have some news. New York Comic Con is coming up in less than a month. There is going to be a Star Trek panel, but we're not going to be there. We will still be reporting on it as everything comes out. So look on our social media for updates, the blog for posts, and we will be doing a post show on the pod either Sunday or Monday. We're not quite sure yet. Lower Decks Season 4. We're going to be doing our look back and review on October 16th, which means that we're going to be doing our rewatch in the Discord. And I think we're starting that on the 7th based on dates. We usually end it the day before the review. So 10 days before that. But keep an eye out on Discord for announcements about that. We'll be giving away a copy of Season 4 to somebody who comes to the watch-alongs, and we're also going to be giving away stickers that I am working on right now.
And not to prop her up, but the sticker's fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome. It's just a sketch right now, and it's so good, and I can't wait to see it done. It's so good.
I mean, it does highlight probably the biggest highlight for me this season. So
I loved it too. I loved it.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw it, I was like,
Aw, thank you guys so much. It's getting to be fall, so it's cold, so I'm wearing this. Do you guys know where I got my awesome Starfleet pullover from?
Well, Hawk, I'm pretty sure it might be from that that villains and heroes, or heroes and villains and other things.
I think there's good guys and bad guys.
Yeah, I think it's that something called like that. Anyway,
right.
Heroes and villains, the lovely
Heroes and villains
people that we have, we work together with, and you can get 20% off your first order with our code Strange New Pod. Strange.
Yeah,
I haven't said this in a long time.
our code is strange.
Very strange.
Just strange. Yes.
Just strange.
But yes, tons of awesome things, and they do have these Starfleet pullovers in all of the different track colors, and a couple other different hoodies and zip ups that are good for this kind of weather, or just t-shirts that you could wear at any time, or bags, or lots of other things. They've got a ton of stuff for Star Trek, Star Wars.
All your favorite franchises.
Indiana Jones.
All of you. Yeah. Everything geeky that you can check out. So that's heroesandvillains.com, and our code is strange. So we ready to get into the episode, guys?
Yes.
Are we doing that strange new loop that you did?
We are doing the strange new loop. So to split up or not to split up, that is the question. If you were in charge of a Starfleet away team and you found out you had two things that needed to get done, would you split up your team or prioritize the objectives?
Split up your team, because if that one team gets caught, you guys are fucked. Right? Split it up. At least there's more chance to, succeed in there.
Yeah,
that is very true. Okay.
Yeah,
I would probably do the same thing. I might ask the Traveler that is apparently making all of the plans what his plan is first.
He apparently doesn't know. He's like frantic like Matt Smith, but without thinking things through.
I mean, that just sounds like Matt Smith.
That's true. Sorry, Hawk. I think I cut you off.
I like I said, in that case, there were two top priorities. You have to split up. They split up all the time in Star Trek, and that's as Eric said, it's a good call. Now, one half of the team gets captured. Who's gonna rescue the rest of them?
Yeah, but they're also loyal that they're not going to leave the other guys behind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I was just thinking they're already getting disavowed if they got caught. So they know that there's no one coming back, or at least there's no backup. So they have to have something they are their own backups, right? Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're on the side of splitting up. At least you guys are. I'm not sure how I fall on all of this. I was fairly critical of it, but let's get into the episodes. So we're going to start with Brink. The order will go Eric, Hawk, and then me. So first thing off, I'm feeling really dumb. So I seriously can't believe I did this, but in our last review, I was really critical of not showing how Wesley was caught, and I suggested they do a flashback. And I guess I haven't watched these episodes in a while, because that's literally exactly what happened in this episode. So my apologies to the writers. Asencia is working with the Valnikat scientists on the weapon against the Federation. Wesley comes in and he's injured and weakened, trying to stop her, but he gets shot in the back and captured. What do we think of Wesley's plan?
You know what? I'm not going to throw you shade, because I totally forgot about this as well. Not that I was on last week's episode, but I don't remember him getting caught. And it's funny because now I watch this beginning, I'm like, it's very convenient, everything that happens in this beginning. And I know he planned it, but it's very obvious he planned it, because he comes in, he's like, oh, I'm limping now. I'm a little bit hurt, so you can probably take advantage of me. But nope, I can make your phasers disappear. But no, wait. So first he knocks over the machine, just conveniently enough that it's pointed at him. And then he makes the phaser disappear so that he's, facing away from the main villain of the whole series. And then, she used the machine against him. I don't have any issues with that. I like that it was very, convenient, but watching it again, I was like, I see the puzzle pieces getting put there. I like that. Yeah.
Again, you know, I totally forgot too. This is what happens when you're binging like this season and not trying to get ready for the review of it.
Yeah.
So I wound up forgetting about this very same part. So, bad on us for not paying attention to this brilliant writing. Yes, Wesley's plan was very obvious. As Eric said, showing up wounded, turning his back on the main villain, Asencia. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you kind of get that Wesley, he's got this all mapped out and that he's the traveler, he's Matt Smith, he's Doctor Who, he could be He Who Remains, I don't know. There is something about that whole thing that being able to see the end of time just basically is not good for your mental health. I think um we criticize Wesley's plan a little in that, but it's hard to get into that frame of mind. When you see all the pieces able to fall in one place, it can do a number on you.
So I understand what Wesley was doing here a little bit. But then at the same time, I'm like, is this really the best plan? Because as we see later on, basically him doing this zaps all of his powers so that he can't see into the future, which means that when he came up with this plan, he was already he didn't know actually how it was going to go through because he could not see what would happen because of this. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, it's like a different variation of this one plan that he didn't see at all.
Yeah. So it's like I mentioned last week, and except for Asencia, but this is time it's for Wesley, where it's like number 1, get caught. Number 2, blank. Number 3, blank. Number 4, profit. That's Wesley's plan. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do feel bad that I was shading the writers a little bit last week, but also I'm not too sure about Wesley's state of mind for this. So technically, not against the Prime Directive. Janeway's having a meeting with her senior staff, and everyone's debating what to do since they have no help coming, and they've been ordered not to do anything. Gwyn suggests that she and the Protostar crew, specifically calling them her crew, go to Solum, since they're not Starfleet officers yet, which I think is a real technicality. And they're not going against orders or breaking the Prime Directive. Gwyn says that not only will they find out about Asencia's weapons, but rescue Ilthuran. Janeway agrees. What are our thoughts on this plan?
They're not Starfleet officers, but they're under the purview of Starfleet, which sort of still makes them Starfleet adjacent, if not still sort of officers, right? I thought that was funny. I like that Gwyn was like, this is my crew. And like you could see, even a little bit later, you see Dal being like, this is your mission, we'll follow you. Like we can see where they're going to start putting them into their places when they get their own ship at the end of the season. Like I like that. Like having seen the whole season, like seeing how they take charge at this point. I thought that was cool. Like there's something weird about sending these kids off on a dangerous mission. And Janeway's like, they're still my kids, but I have to send them because they're the only ones that won't get Starfleet in trouble. I thought that was I don't know. It made my brain go like, oh, there's something off about making these children soldiers, child soldiers. Yeah. Like, but yeah, it does seem like the only way to go, I guess. And Gwyn's the only one that knows the place, so it has to be her. And the people that she trusts the most are her crew. So it all makes sense. It just, there's a little bit of that ick child soldier thing that's in my brain where, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Child soldier thing aside, this was like a cool kind of reset for the crew too, because it's like not being affiliated with Starfleet. We see them back in their original costumes and outfits, Doll with the t-shirt and everything like that. So in a way, it kind of resets them back to like when they were on their own, having to work out these missions and that they were on, by themselves, relying only on each other. Yes, this is the Protostar crew. I mean that ship really does belong to them at this point, not so much in the legally binding kind of way, but in spirit, this is the crew of the Protostar. Just as much as like, Janeway and crew were the crew of Voyager. Can you imagine Voyager with any other crew? I mean, the new Voyager obviously has its own crew, but and it resets it to that classic, Prodigy format with these guys.
Yeah.
As far as the actual plan, what would they do at this point? And Jellicoe ordered them to do nothing in that because he's worried about escalation. While at the same time worrying about the Romulan evacuation, the spreading thin of their own resources. And this Janeway just being emboldened after the most recent episodes and that she was never going to be able to take a back seat to this, but at the same time she needs these kids to do this mission because they're running out of resources.
Yeah, so them technically not being in Starfleet, that technically is doing some real heavy lifting, like real heavy. And not just in the whole Prime Directive idea, but even if they're successful, and I'm not trying to put this on Janeway, I'm really sorry if it sounds like I'm bad-mouthing her, but even if it goes right, do you think somebody like Jellicoe is going to be okay with these kids going against his orders?
Jellicoe, probably not. There's a rigidity to him that it's just.
I feel like most Starfleet admirals and higher ups would have an issue with this, though, wouldn't they? Jellicoe,
except for Janeway.
Yeah, Janeway. Maybe Picard would be fine with it, but I feel like some of the admirals are way more stern, or at least more strict on it. Like they are sending children off to do this mission off the books.
They're sending children to do this, which I think would put Janeway's career in danger. And these kids are going along with it, which would put their future careers at risk, because the thing is, they're trying to get into Starfleet. So if one of the first things they do in trying to get into Starfleet is go against an admiral's orders, then that does not look too good for them.
It's so true.
But the situation was so messed up to begin with, right? Asencia fired first, whether they like it or not, there's a war coming, I know Janeway holds out for the peaceful resolution, but given the situation, the cowboy diplomacy aspect,
Don't you feel like Janeway would have just sent an away team anyways? Like, I feel like that's
spoilers for the next episode. There isn't an away team sent, and Janeway's on it.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's true. It's true, yeah.
Yeah. Janeway and Chakotay. So, basically the most senior members of,
They couldn't take anyone else. They were taking care of Brittle, right?
That's Tysus. He's taking care of Brittle.
He's the next in command, is he not?
He is. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, he's a commander, but Chakotay is captain. So
I meant that was left. He's the next in command.
Yeah.
He can't go. He has Brittle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the one thing I keep thinking about with this, it's they're going to rescue Wesley and everything like that. But at this time, they don't even know that Wesley's down there.
This is why this is why some split. It's important to be able to split up at some point in that, because the mission changes.
Hey.
Yeah. But anyways, so our junior away team do go down to Solum. And this actually includes Majel because, technically we're not a part of Starfleet, and all she has to do is resign from Nova Squadron, apparently, and it's all hunky-dory. But, Wesley told them not to split up. And she says that very specifically.
Yep.
And so they're getting everything ready. Rock has built what is basically an invisibility cloak. Janeway tells them under no circumstances to engage with the Valnicut, which, thanks for jinxing them, Janeway.
Seriously.
And Commander Tysus is going to Bribbles it. So how screwed are these kids?
I mean, I I think I said everything about brittle sitting that I can. Like it's such a the little cloak thing that was designed just for like the 5 of them without Majel. Like that seems like a little bit of that's really tight engineering, right? There should have been some wiggle room there. Whatever. I don't know. Like this is this felt like a very, I don't want to say Scooby-Doo-ish, but it sort of felt Scooby-Doo-ish where they're going down and they have to tiptoe around everything.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like I'm not making fun of it. I like the Scooby-Doo aspect of it, but I thought it was very humorous. Like it felt fun, like fun in a. And then you see them all knocking over stuff as they're like, I'm like, I was just sitting there giggling, and my kids are like, "Why are you laughing so much?" Like they're in danger. I was like, "No, they're not. They're gonna be fine. They're kids on a Star Trek show. I don't think it's gonna be bad." But yeah, I man, as soon as they go down and they're like, we can't walk really fast because we only had this for this much space. I was like, yeah, these kids are gonna get caught really fast. Wait, was this the part where the Doctor and Hologram Janeway were flirting, or was that later in the season?
That's later. I think that's actually in the next one.
Is that in the next one? Oh, it's all going together.
Yeah. It was when they were the 3D printing of the ship. Remember?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I'm done this part.
And I do have that in there. Okay. So Hawk.
Yeah, these kids are massively screwed. It feels like we're going into the next topic, but I mean, like this whole thing with the cloaking, like, umbrella effect thing. I know it's the comedic centerpiece of the episode, and it's brilliant to watch. It's super funny. Shuffle faster is, a great line. But in terms of practicality, and it had this air of, do you remember Obi-Wan? The Kenobi and that when he was trying to sneak Leia under the big massive coat.
It also reminded me of Harry and was it Ron under the invisibility cloak, and they're like sneaking around in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And you're like, these kids are gonna also get caught really fast. Oh man.
It was so funny to watch, but yeah, I know the kids are smart and everything on that, but the whole situation is just stacked against them, and partly because of their actions themselves and that, but
they're also taking like the whole sidewalk, the whole one. Like,
yeah,
like if it ever goes like into a little narrow way, they're fucked.
I mean, they've got Rock Talk, who is not a small person.
That's why she's holding it.
Yeah, exactly.
and the whole thing where it's like they basically they're just muffle talking, trying to talk to each other. They're not supposed to be talking. They're under the
I think my favorite part was Jankum absolutely falling out because he trips over a rock. But yeah, no, I mean, like this whole thing. I mean, it's like Janeway seriously did like it's times like this when I suddenly realize it's like, oh yes, this is a kid show, because of course on a kid show they're gonna have Janeway basically jinx them by saying it's like under no circumstances will you engage with these people, and then I'm just like, well, they definitely are now. And that happens actually a couple times in this episode, or in these next. So we're going to keep on doing that I think we talked about that last week too. It's like these 6 episodes basically all go together.
It's a big movie. Like this ending.
It's a big movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We're kind of right in the middle of that movie. And so it's really hard to tell where things happen and where they don't. So it will keep happening. So on Solum, much of the surface is taken up by the weaponry. Gwyn is horrified by how downtrodden the citizens look. And they make their way to Ilthuran's observatory, and they meet his second in command, which is a younger Asencia. She gets to info dump. And it turns out they have to rescue Ilthuran and Wesley. Now, we kind of talked about this a little bit in the Strange New Loop, but since there's no way to do both, they're going to split up after being told that they should stick together. I think you guys already said, but how do you guys feel about this change in the plan?
I thought it made sense, especially Gwyn being in charge. She's like, well, obviously we need to take care of the person who's going to lead the charge on Solum, but we also need to save Wesley, who can help us fix this whole thing. It makes sense. It totally makes sense. And, Dal says it right then. He's like, we're going to follow you, whatever you say. Like, we're your team. And, man, Dal at the beginning of the season to now, man, I love that change. It's so good to see him in his right footing. Like, it's amazing. Seeing what's her name as the second command, Asencia. Good Lord. Asencia as the younger one, as the person, as a second in command, being like, I hope I don't turn into this person. Like, that's amazing. I love that. And I remember seeing her, like, at the beginning of the season, sort of horrified at what her older self is doing. So it totally makes sense that she does it. But I love that she's all, like, full on, like, in the get up and, like, just ready to go. It's amazing. I wish we saw more of their resistance throughout the season. Like, that seems more interesting to me. Like, I wanted to know how they started the whole resistance and how they built it underground. Like, it would be really cool to have, like, a one-off, like, maybe next season or maybe even between seasons about this whole rise. Like, oh, that would be so cool. So cool. But yeah, it makes sense. All of it.
Yeah, the lost years. Yeah, the lost time in Solum would be really interesting to see in that. Because, like, just to comment on seeing Asencia again. This is a part of this I'd kind of forgotten about too, in that that the younger Asencia is there, and part of the resistance movement in that, because she's horrified by what's happening, and it just really goes to it connects way back with the diviner. It's like how, like, just how resolute and how, like, evil he was in trying to accomplish his plan. And then meeting the man, like, at the beginning of season 2, you can see, like, how the destruction of Solum, like, what it did to them, did to their minds, made them, like, so xenophobic and evil that, Asencia, like, the Asencia we see as the villain in that, she monologues, seems so happy in her role, it's like, creating this, this war machine to go to war with the Federation.
It's weird, like, watching the diviner be the soft spoken one, because he reminds, like, just the way he speaks, he sounds like Walter Bishop on Fringe, but when he's the diviner, he sounds like Denethor in Lord of the Rings. So you're just like, oh yeah, I can see how you can play those two off each other. Like, that's so good.
No, he's so great, John Noble. As far as the change in the plan, yes, this is when it makes sense to split up the teams in that, because, like, it's like Ilthuran was the priority, plus gathering intel. But I mean, the intel's changed because now they know where the Vondicott have gotten this upgrade in their technology, and it's from the Traveler. And that if they want, if they want the war effort to stop, and that they got to rescue Wesley. And that if not, Asencia will take over the galaxy. So yes, the change in the plan was absolutely necessary. Obviously very scary for the kids, because they were told never to split up, always stick together. But I love later on, I thought you meant spiritually. I'm good.
I think I'll take the dissenting opinion here. I don't think that they should have split up. I think that Ilthuran was being taken away to be imprisoned, but I don't know if they said that he was being executed or anything.
I think they said that that's the place where they were taking them is where they execute.
Where they were taking him to, like, the same place that.
Yeah, because when they were flying in, they had the two coordinates, right? I think they say that in the second episode, so not in the first episode. Yeah,
so essentially it was taking him to get killed by the Loom, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, okay, fair enough, but
they didn't know that at the time, though. So
no, they didn't know that at the time, and the only reason why Janeway agreed to get Ilthuran, I believe, is because Gwyn wanted it. Gwyn was in charge of the mission, and Gwyn has an emotional attachment. And when it came to this, she is looking at, okay, Wesley is, I think she knows that Wesley is the more important person to get, because Wesley is basically holding the universe together with a kettle and a bit of string. Little Doctor Who reference, because apparently we got tons of them. And Ilthuran, while he is leading the resistance will probably survive without him. And also she doesn't know for sure that he's going to die. But she makes the decision to split up strictly emotionally, which, granted, the thing is, Gwyn is a teenager, and this is her first time in charge of a mission, really. And we can see in the next episode, it really eats at her that she feels like, because she's made the wrong decision.
You know, thinking about what you're saying, if Ilthuran was killed by the Loom, they wouldn't even know. Like, Asencia would have been the person leading the charge anyways, right?
This is true.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that they had a Loom at the time. We'll talk about that. But this episode closes out. Wait, no. I'm skipping one. Sorry. 2 rescues, no waiting. We have Gwyn, Rock, Zero, and Murph nearly getting caught because the invisibility doodad goes on the fritz because of technobabble. Dahl, Jenkem, Asencia, and Majel go to rescue Ilthuran. We get some nerve pinch action from Majel, which I think is the first time we've seen that from her. But after they rescue Ilthuran, she jinxes them yet again by saying things seem to be going smoothly. So after a weekend at Burnsying, an unconscious guard, they managed to get Wesley. But Wesley's too befuddled to do a space-time shift, and oops, it was actually a mistake to split up. Shock of all shocks, but everyone's brought together. Unfortunately, it's by future Asencia, who's captured the other team. Wesley knew he had a plan. He kept on talking about his plan, and he seemed to think that everybody knew his plan. Should Wesley have been more careful about actually sharing his plan?
I wonder if he shared his plan, it would change things, like them knowing what they have to do. Like, you know,
you're pulling the Doctor Strange line from Avengers.
Yeah, I was like, is that from Doctor Strange or is that from Doctor Who? I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah, I feel like if you know what you're supposed to do, things will happen and it'll screw up anyways. The rescue of Ilthuran was very convenient. Like, it was just like the simplest thing they could have done. Like, there was one guard. There was like they could just phase her in. It felt like it was just a giant trap. Like, just watching them do it, I was like, there's no way they don't think that someone's going to try and save the leader of the resistance, right? So it makes sense. The Gwyn, Rock, Zero, and Murph, like the cloak failing was so funny because you could only hear them sometimes when the cloak was like off. And so it would be like, and I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. And you see the guys just like, what the fuck is going on over here? And then Rock hits the guard with the device. It is just so funny. Oh man, I love that part. I was dying laughing. I had to pause it when I watched that the first time, and then I had to do it again today because my kids are like, I can't hear anything that's going on now. And then they followed that with a weekend of burning with the guard and Zero doing that. Oh man, this episode is so funny in certain parts. Like, it's so good. What else? Wesley being too befuddled to do a time shift. Yeah, makes sense considering he was being tortured. Odd that he wouldn't have seen that ahead of time, right? But yeah, that it made sense that Asencia was, she was lying in wait, waiting for someone to just try and get him, man.
Yeah. So, where was I going to say? Yes, the rescue of Ilthuran. like the phrase, super easy, barely an inconvenience kind of came into my head. So you knew that was going to go awry.
That guy is a Canadian, you know that?
Is he?
Oh, is
I did
he?
not know
Ryan
that.
George is Canadian, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. As far as Wesley sharing the plan, I mean, like, was there time for him to do that? Because basically, like, the last time they saw him, the loom was knocking on the door. He was trying to get something going and send them out to meet Chakotay. And that was it. They just literally discovered that Wesley was there. Now, as far as him being able to share the plan, like he had a lot of confidence in like it because he even came up with a backup, and because he couldn't do the time space thought thing anymore, and just like rock hit here, creating them an exit. So he had a lot of confidence that it was going to work. Unfortunately, I don't know why he thought like it involved them all being at that spot at that exact same time because I mean technically they were all together, right? I mean they split up for a little bit. And as far as Asencia, like it was a robot guard that saw the two down guards after Rock and everybody rushed the gate. That was the tip off for her, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Possibly, yeah.
But that was in the other area, like.
Yeah, it kind of confused me how quickly she managed to capture like them.
This has been my complaint with a lot of the things with Asencia, where they don't really explain how she succeeds in things. They just like kind of skip over that part.
Yeah, because the guard was where Rock was, and the other team was where she captured them, and then she brought them over to where these down guards were. So that robot guard was like, bring those prisoners over here. Because you guys have to have like an epic meetup, right? That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Because Asencia does love to show off how
she loves the drama.
Yeah.
The drama.
Oh yeah, very much. So I hate this because I hate thinking of things about the boy wizard. But during the invisibility thing, where it kept on faltering, I kept on hearing Rupert Grint in my head going, "The invisibility boosters are faulty."
Oh,
it's
man.
okay thinking that because we love Rupert Grint. Yeah, this is another, they jinx the whole situation, where it's like everything is going smoothly, and it's like, please stop saying this kind of stuff. But it's a kid's show, so of course they're going to say it. This made me kind of want to watch Weekend at Bernie's again.
Yes.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I'm sure it's not problematic anymore. Right? I'm gonna watch it tonight just to see.
I will too. Text me about it.
Okay.
And as for Wesley, I mean, there is the whole thing, the whole Doctor Strange. If I tell you, it won't happen. But Wesley seemed convinced that he had told them, and so I guess it's just one of those things where Wesley is so used to things being out of order that maybe he told them his plan later, and so he thought that he'd already told them. Because he tells them his plan in this, and maybe it got all mixed up. I don't know.
He thinks like the plan was like telling them the plan was like they have to stay together because that's the only important information about the plan he relayed. They were as confused as everybody else. They were just operating on faith that
he seemed to think that they knew that he came to the planet to, like, he was caught on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like he thought that he'd already shared that. Meanwhile, they didn't have any idea at all. So, yeah, I think Wesley needs to get better at linear time. I mean, come on, dude. Like, you lived here for what, like 20 years? Like, that we don't actually know how old Wesley is now. Like, he might look like he's in his 40s, but I think he's actually older than that.
Yeah. He's like hundreds of years old.
Yeah. And like, he's, like I said, that's that thing of like, being able to see everything at once and that it messes you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the episode closes out with Dahl using the transporter to send Ilthuran and Wesley to Voyager, and Wesley declaring that he has no clue what happens next. So thoughts on the cliffhanger?
I loved the making the hard choices thing that Gwyn does, like says to Dal, and he's just like, oh fuck, I know what she wants me to do, and then doing it. Oh, that was such a cool moment. I forgot how cool that was, and then seeing that, I was like, oh yeah, damn right, Dal, you knew. Like that's how you know they're good number one and number two. Like that's great. And then just the look of shock on Janeway's face when Wesley shows up again. She's like, oh god, this guy again. We know why things are fucked up now. Crusher's here. It's cool. It's a good cliffhanger for like if this was like an act 2 in this movie, like that, this would be the thing where you're like, oh fuck, things are fucked up now. Let's see where we go from here. Like I loved it. I thought it was a good way to end it.
Same,
Hawk?
and I love the little Die Hard reference with him with the prehensile tail pulling out the little transporter thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Dahl's the guy you want there when the plan does go wrong, and like, they need that kind of hope and a prayer move. He seems to be the guy who's always there, and obviously by his design, but like, it was a great little moment, when all hope seems lost in that, and he makes that, the tough call. Loved it. Great way to end it off and go into the next one.
I hadn't picked up on the Die Hard of it because I'm not a huge Die Hard fan, but yeah, I can totally see that being a Die Hard thing.
Yeah. Just one of those cool things, like the writers slip in there, and that just the show is great for all those little meta details.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do have to say, I feel like these 6 episodes, while they do play great as a movie, as episodes, they might not work quite as well, just because it's like, this is a really good cliffhanger, and I would love to have to wait a week to find out like what happened. But as it was, it's like, as soon as I watched this, I watched the next one, and that kind of does mute the
awesomeness,
trauma of this, the awesomeness. Yeah, because I mean, you have Wesley, who's like not only a traveler, like one of the most powerful beings in the universe, but he is one of like the legends in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And he's lying on the ground saying he has no idea what happens next, and that's really scary. But we don't really get to like marinate in that terror, because we immediately go into Touch of Grey, and so we get a quick recap of the last few minutes of Brink, in which we also find out this is the 14th anniversary of Janeway taking command of Voyager. Wesley and Ilthuran are taken to sickbay. Turns out Asencia messing with Wesley could have killed anybody else, but it's conveniently just taken out his powers enough to make the climax of the season exciting by not knowing he can fix everything. When Asencia plans to execute the crew of the Protostar, Janeway decides to screw the Prime Directive and go down to the planet with Chakotay, Wesley, and the Doctor. Thoughts on Janeway finally following the Janeway?
I thought it was really cool seeing what happened right before Wesley showed up. I thought that was a really nice talk between Chakotay and Janeway. It's crazy to think that this is 14 years after Voyager started, which would have been like, considering for us, it's been 29 years, which is even weirder to think in my brain.
So it'll be 7 years after they got back.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. Wait, 7 years after they got back, but Chakotay's been missing for 10? That hurts my...
Because he was timey-wimey.
Oh, because he went back further.
Like, he's 10 years older, but like, the time, definitely shortened.
Yeah. My brain.
Because of it.
Yeah, time-wimey. Confusing.
Yep.
Turns out Asencia's blah blah blah, And Janeway doing the Janeway, like going down. This is what I thought she would have done from the get go. To be honest, when they first started talking about the mission, and she's like, you know what, we can't go down. I was like, really, Janeway? Are you sure you're just saying that so you can save some torpedoes for later? Like, come on. I loved it. I love that she rolls up her sleeves and gets the action. I love action, Janeway. It's so awesome. It felt right. It felt right that she was getting her, pulling up her boots and, going to get down there to get her hands dirty. That's the best Janeway.
Yeah. Hawk?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the first time we've seen her follow the Janeway in this season of it. And, we saw like, how, her slipping into that role so easily back at the mid-season finale. I love that little commemoration, and
that was so nice.
It was just a little reminder of that, like, the craziness and like the impossibility of what they did, surviving in the Delta Quadrant for all those years just on their own. And under her leadership, and the reason they got back was because of her, so it was fitting, like, for him to, show up with her old Delta. And then yes, Asencia wants to execute the crew in that, well, obviously in that, but she's not going to take that line down. She's going to round up, the gang to get together. Chakotay, the doctor, her on an away mission. Come on.
The only thing that would have made it better is if there were more Voyager crew members on that team, right? Oh, let's call Paris. Harry Kim's probably doing nothing right now, right?
Well,
let's get him.
I mean, they had Wesley for the pilot, so, they were covered like that. So, yeah. But I mean, the core members, the doctor, Chakotay, Janeway, great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love this little opening bit. The whole little bit of JC in it, because like when she's like, now that I have you back, that farm in Indiana seems like really inviting, and it's like, are you like asking like Chakotay to like move in with you on a farm? Because that's like totally how it came off to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for that. But also I feel like the whole like commemoration of Voyager, so much of what Janeway has been doing has specifically been to get Chakotay back, because Chakotay's her bae. But she has been playing like proper, Admiral with everything else. And I mean, even with what she did in the last episode, she was going along with Jellicoe's orders. She was bending them a little bit, but she didn't strictly go against them. But by having that little commemoration, I think Janeway remembered who she was back then, and remembered that the woman who captained Voyager would have never let those kids go down by themselves, never would have disavowed them. Because I mean, her 3 rules. I know the last one is never leave your crew behind. I can't remember the other ones right now because it's late and I'm tired.
Coffee's in there somewhere.
No, I know there's something about like always tucking your shirt, or
keep your shirt tucked in, go down with your ship, and never leave a crew member behind.
That's exactly it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I love seeing these. This is a great team to have go down. And I think considering that they've brought all of these legacy characters back, they had to get in on a mission. So it's really great to see them. And I feel like this episode is actually their episode. Like, when I was writing up the outline, it's like all of the stuff tends to talk about these characters rather than the kids from the Protostar, because they're a little more incidental in this one. And I mean, that's fine, because this is like a 6-part movie, and this just happens to be a part that is focused on some other characters.
Mm-hmm.
So the part that Eric was looking forward to, as the away team gets ready, there's this nice little moment between the Doctor and Hollow Janeway, as she's a big fan of his Hollow novels. Who else is really here for their friendship? You know, those quote marks can do some real heavy lifting, like depending on how you're feeling about it. I mean, personally, I was feeling the vibe. I mean, we all know that Hollow Janeway and Chakotay had a thing, but that's not thinging anymore because now he's got the real deal back. So, she's a free agent and, they're both holograms and who doesn't have a thing for Janeway? So I'm here for it. And as they head down to Solum, Wesley gets used to doing things on the slow path and Janeway chastises him to go talk to his mother. How do we feel about this little scene, which is basically nothing but character building?
I love the flirting between Hollow Janeway and the Doctor. Like, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, because when I watched it this time, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I love it. I'm here for it. I want to see them together when we see them in Starfleet Academy, like when we see the Doctor in Starfleet Academy. That's what I want to see. I want to see them being a couple all the way then. That would be amazing.
Do you think we're going to see Hollow Janeway in Starfleet Academy?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
That would be.
They haven't gotten her back on any other live action. That would be an amazing way to have her. Oh, could you imagine? Anyway, I've talked to your mother. You should go talk to your mother. That Janeway says to Wesley, damn straight you should talk to his mom. Like, she doesn't know what he's doing, and obviously that's something that they probably would have talked about, because Wesley's probably fairly well known as being someone who just sort of up and went away and did this magical thing in this universe. And the fact that Janeway has talked to Wesley more than he's talked to his mother, God, that's, as a parent, that's heartbreaking. Could you imagine? Oh, but yeah, I like that he actually feels bad about it. Like you could see that like his work is important, obviously, but I think he just assumed his mom, would have realized that that's just part of his job, because they're all Starfleet officers. They know what the job is. Sometimes you're away, but away for this long, man. Go Hawk.
Well, first up, the Hollow Janeway and the Doctor flirting. Yeah, I kind of brushed past that the first time I watched it, just like you did. This time, it really stood out, and it kind of made me realize, like we've known for a long while that, like, Kate Mulgrew is so good at, like doing like the Hollow Janeway role and then Janeway in that, and making them two distinct characters. And we can see like the distinction here in this, it's like the coy little way she's like, I'm a big fan, it was sweet, and he just kind of goes, shows off like, how great she is, she's like, as far as an actress. As they head down to Solum, there was that exchange between like Wesley and Janeway was great. Also reminding him, like, I heard you were a pretty good officer back in the day, or he was, well, he only made it to ensign, I think. But yeah.
He's probably also infamous for the whole Nova Squadron thing too.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But, also probably, he, a little bit the fame he gained in that, like, while being like the youngest ever, like, acting ensign, and like, the first ever commissioned ensign, youngest commissioned ensign, like on the Enterprise. But yeah, that bit when she said, you should call your mother, and the look on his face as he turned away, what it really made me think of was like when Beverly was like in season 3 of Picard, she's talking about how the two most important men of her life she lost just to the stars, referring to, her husband Jack and to Wesley, really kind of puts refocuses like, like her relationship with with Jack in that series, but yeah, there was something about the look on Wesley's face, it was that guilt, right? You know,
Props to the animators, right?
Yeah.
Damn.
Props
Yeah.
to the animators for really kind of, infusing that into that scene. You have no idea what his guilt is about or why he, took so long to call her and that. Again, getting lost in his own in space, time, and thought is, it's not good for relationships.
Do you think that Janeway talked to Crusher, like Beverly Crusher, like after she saw him on that planet?
Yes.
It happens in episode something or other.
Like 11
Like
or
we
12.
we did see there was a cameo from Gates in
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
in one of the episodes. Yeah, she appears in a comm. We actually do see the conversation between Beverly and Janeway.
I have to rewatch the show.
They have become aware. She had become aware of Wesley's presence and like his influence in what was happening, and she but from all descriptions, he was just a madman, and it wasn't the Wesley Crusher she heard about, and she wanted some confirmation at that point, right? To like tell me about your son, and that is he able to do this, or is he completely off his rocker now?
Yeah, it must have been episode like 10 or 11 or something. I can't remember. I was just trying to
10. Yeah, I'm going to say 10. But there was a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, so this whole scene with Hollow Janeway and the Doctor, I did not pick this up the first time, but when I was watching it this time, I was like, holy crow, like there is something going on here. And then I was thinking about it. It totally makes sense because the Doctor is one of the first holograms of his type. I think that there were only two, I would say, that came before him. Or at least I think came before him. And that would be Moriarty. Yep. And I can't remember when Vic Fontaine really became a thing. But we've kind of got like these four holograms, which are like on a completely different level. And that's Moriarty, Vic Fontaine, the Doctor, and Hollow Janeway. And they're all their own people. Like we know that there are multiple copies of the EMH, but none of them are the Doctor. None of them have had the experience that he has. At this point, he has been on for 14 years, almost nonstop. He is an actual person. And Janeway, Hollow Janeway, has been on for about the same amount of time. Because she was on for 10 years. She has developed her own personality apart from Janeway. Like she might look like her and might have like some, surfacey memories of, who Janeway is. I don't know how the whole thing works. I assume we take what was in Dr. Bashir, I presume. This is just my guess. How that they were going to use Bashir for the LMH, and it was all based on like answers to questions like with him and his friends. I think that's probably how they programmed the Janeway hologram. So it's almost like the social media version of Janeway. Where it's like it does answer Hollow Janeway does answer things the way Janeway kind of would, but it's not the same person. So the whole idea of Janeway and the Doctor hooking up, like I could never see like real Janeway hooking up with the Doctor, but Hollow Janeway, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, like I absolutely believe that Hollow Janeway and Chakotay had a thing going on. They were alone for 10 years. And Chakotay is in love with Janeway. So, and it's like she is a Janeway. And he had no idea he was going to get back. And I think Admiral Janeway is cool with that.
I mean, she knows what happens on holodecks.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Delete the wife. Yeah. But yeah, so Hollow Janeway needs to move on with her life, and why not move on with the Doctor? They are one of the few beings that can actually understand one another. We do need to get some more mobile hollow emitters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, have we not reached the point where we can scan this thing and figure out what goes in it? Like, you've been back for 7 years. Why can't we take this thing to Daystrom and have it scanned and put new ones together? I mean, I know they probably don't care because there's still the issue of holographic rights, and it's probably even dicier now because of the whole synth thing. I have no idea where holograms fall into that.
You gotta assume that Section 31 has a copy of that, right? Like they have to have like hollow spies somewhere. That just makes sense in my brain.
By the way, when we have that long period after Lower Decks where we have no episodes like planned out, I do think we should probably do an episode about like people for the ethical treatment of holograms.
Yes, have the legal geeks come on.
I have so many feelings about holograms and synths and all of this kind of stuff. I think we should do it. And we'll get the legal geeks onto it. We'll tell Julian. We'll mutiny and tell Julian we're doing it.
We're doing it without you.
We're doing AI. Nice.
Oh, Beverly Crusher showed up in Last Flight of the Protostar Part 2. So episode 12.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
Episode 12. Okay, and like the whole thing with Janeway and Wesley. Like Hawk said, like when you actually watch Picard, like there is that heartbreaking moment where Janeway, where Crusher says, "I lost Wesley to the stars," and it hurts so much because actually, like when we saw that, I thought, oh, she hasn't seen Wesley since Journey's End. That's ridiculous and terrible. I'm glad that at least like he checked in like once. Spoilers.
Once.
But Brutal. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't want Janeway to like look at me with that kind of disapproving look. So I mean, yeah, props to the animators. I wonder if Kate Mulgrew just like glared at Will Wheaton at a convention and somebody like snapped it, because like that did have that feel of, Kate Mulgrew looking at you, askance. I would, wither and die.
It felt like I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed.
Janeway has such big mom energy without being a mom.
Yeah.
So we're getting into Asencia's rank orbit. The Protostar crew are taken to a ruin on Solum where they're going to be executed. And Asencia is going to do it via Loom, so they never existed in the first place. And she was able to capture one with knowledge she got from Wesley. When Dal asks how, the answer is, it doesn't matter. I feel it actually kind of does. Because Wesley was terrified of the Loom. The last couple times we saw him.
The other travelers left. They left.
Yes. Yeah, he did not have a way to control them. I don't understand how like Asencia was able to control him. So yeah, let's just go off on this plot point.
That was the part when I saw the Loom, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I saw a collar around the Loom's neck and I was like, what the how? And how is this not like going through the floor? Like it can go through matter. Like how is it trapped? Like it hurt my brain. I thought it was very cool, but it hurt my brain a lot. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like she did manage to capture, obviously it was part of the plan, but she did capture Wesley. She used somehow fashioned technology that was able to siphon his power into like, making those complicated machine, those war machine factories that moved at like high speed and that. So she probably did the same thing with this creature, the Loom, and that she took advantage of Wesley and that. It's like, I mean, he has all these powers that, but he also has like an ethical core, and like, about when and how to use these powers and, responsibility, blah, blah, blah. But with Wesley as her prisoner and that, she's just siphoning power and like just using him however she can, and coming up with, with things that he would never even envision. So yeah, it makes sense to me that, she would use his knowledge and powers and that to come up with a way to even trap the loom, where, as he's terrified of him, she doesn't care. She's like, this could be another weapon in my, tool belt.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, like, I know I've been critical of Asencia this season, of so much of her ascent, no pun intended, to power has been not shown. We've just gotten these dramatic moments of just like, Asencia is doing this, Asencia is doing that. Some of them I will let go. This is the hill I will die on.
Yeah.
This is one step too far, because they spent episodes like 9 and 10 and 11 or whatever with Wesley freaking terrified of the loom. The only thing he could do was run away, and he takes like the kids to a pocket dimension because he can't do anything to fight the loom. And all of the other, like, as you pointed out, Eric, all of the other travelers left. So I don't see how Wesley could have any power or any knowledge inside of him that could have let Asencia control the loom. This seemed like a little... They wanted their Rancor pit moment. And it was, really freak them out. But I don't feel like they did anything to earn it, and it pissed me off.
Like, the loom feel like they should be unmanageable by anything. Like they're like the zombie. Remember, like, old zombie movies where they just kept coming and coming and coming. It felt like nothing could stop them. That's what they felt like, except the fast version.
Yeah. I mean, I keep on bringing up the Doctor Who episode Father's Day, and the Loom are very much like the Reapers from that episode. And the thing is, they're not bad guys. The Loom are not bad guys. They are just a function of the universe. Like, they eat dying universes because dying universes can infect other universes. At least this is my understanding of them.
Yeah, they're
basically
part of it.
The only reason why Wesley is trying to save this universe is because his mom lives there. He said that. But yeah, the line in Father's Day about the Reapers is that they sterilize the wound in time. And which is kind of what I feel like the Loom are trying to do, which is why they're so attracted to Gwyn, because she is a paradox. So I don't understand how Asencia was able to control them, especially since Asencia is a paradox. And I don't actually understand why Asencia is not, like, kind of having the same thing happen to her as Gwyn did. I mean, I guess at this point she's now part of a splinter universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should she be like, okay.
Oh, that hurts my head.
I'm sorry. I've made the entire season fall apart.
Someone from the writing from the writing staff explain this to us, because it hurts our heads.
I bet they could. I bet they could come in and say, "Oh, well, this and this and this and that." So I'm still confident in our Prodigy writers.
For sure.
But, yeah, I'm gonna make enemies of the entire Prodigy writing staff. I'm sorry. I love you guys. This is just what I do. Like, this is just me. Like, this is how I watch TV. It's like I rewrote the Beetlejuice sequel as I was watching it. It's good.
It's worth watching.
But I rewrote it while I was watching it.
Oh no.
Because that's what I do. Anyways, so as our away team are going to rescue the kids, Wesley is spending some time doubting himself without his powers. But Janeway is there to remind him that he used to be Gene Roddenberry's personal Mary Sue. Thank you. So in order to save the crew, Janeway gives herself over to Asencia as a prisoner. But Asencia does the smart thing, and this is one thing I will give Asencia, is instead of taking Janeway prisoner, she just shoots her. But they thought of this, and it's actually an overacting doctor in a holo disguise. So, what about Janeway and Co.'s plan?
I died laughing when when the doctor started dying. Like, it reminded, I don't know if you guys have seen, I'm sure you guys, I know you guys have seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. when Paul Rubens' vampire is just dying over and over again. It's like, that's what it felt like. I was crying, laughing so hard at her death. Oh, sweet light, and whatever he says. It was such a good plan, a good funny plan, and of course the doctor has to add a little gusto because he's a writer. He has to, right? Yeah.
I just liked when he started, just citing symptoms and that of like what a phaser burn would do. Myocardial infarction. It was funny. I mean, it was totally to be expected from Asencia too in that, because it's not the first time we've seen her, wanting to shoot first in that. She almost took out Ilthuran in that in the last episode, and Gwyn has faced her, and that she knows that she, the fact that she went through the whole pageantry of putting them through the Rancor pit with the Loom, and that was, I think she was just angry about losing Ilthuran and Wesley in that one moment, and that really wanted to make it hurt for them.
Yeah.
By erasing them from time. But this was good ploy for Janeway. Bravo. I mean, she was working with some pretty limited resources herself, right? We talk about Starfleet being stretched at this point, and that really was just the four of them. So she really used everybody to the best advantage she could.
So thank you, Eric. Now I'm going to watch Weekend at Bernie's and the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Like, unironically, it's great.
And a good Donald Sutherland role too.
Yeah, it's a fantastic one. Anyways, so the whole thing, I love the Wesley self-doubt, because Wesley is somebody that when he was younger, like, he never had any doubt in what he was doing. Like, he could be cocky because he was a very smart kid. And he's been brought down to normal at this point. Like, he's spent the last however long as a traveler, and now he can't do that. And now he just has to be Wesley Crusher again, and he doesn't remember how to be Wesley Crusher. And I like, after Janeway kind of gave him the cutting side eye for not calling his mother, I like Janeway reminding him, it's like, you used to be like great. So I like that moment. And this plan, like, this is one thing that I do like from Asencia. Like, this is like chef's kiss, like her seeing Janeway in front of her, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to keep you as prisoner because you're going to escape or whatever. I'm just going to shoot you. But then having the misdirect and having it actually be the doctor, it's fantastic. And we get this, wonderful overacting from both Kate Mulgrew and from Robert Picardo. I'm wondering if Robert Picardo did it first and then Kate Mulgrew copied it.
I feel like Kate Mulgrew knows him well enough to
That's true.
Just do it.
But yeah, it's so good. And the animation is wonderful. Like, we love this. So we find out that the Loom is a prisoner. Like, we do see the restraining collar, and is in pain. So Janeway blasts the wall, gets the Loom's restraining collar off, and it escapes. It goes after Asencia. It gobbles up her guards and disappears before going after Asencia for reasons. But our crew is trapped. But Wesley has remembered that he's Wesley freaking Crusher, and he's able to remote pilot the ship so everyone can escape. Ilthuran sends a global message to Solum, and everyone manages to escape. Thoughts on how this episode wrapped up?
I love that Janeway used a plan that she used in when she was in the academy to blow up something. That means she blew up something in the academy with her comm badge, which makes me want to find out why she had to blow up something with her comm badge. That's amazing. The Loom just going away was very weird, and I don't know why it just left. I thought Asencia would have beamed out of there, but no, it just sort of just left her alone. The one person who was controlling everyone to keep this loom, probably hungry and captured and scared. I don't know. The Wesley Crusher being Wesley Crusher from TNG was such an awesome moment. Just thinking on the run, it reminded me of old school. He has his sweater already as it is, his new sweater. So if it for some odd reason turned gray and then multicolored in the stripe, it would have just been like perfect. It was great to see him think on his feet and like just straight up being the old Wesley, and he sort of stopped being like erratic at that moment. He was a little erratic, but he was like the old version of thinking fast, not erratic, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Go Hawk.
The Loom as a prisoner. This is one thing Star Trek really does well, outside of any other show, and that is like they find the humanity in every single alien encounter. That no matter how like ferocious any alien seems, in that they always look for ways to empathize with it and find the humanity with it. And I think this goes all the way back to like Devil in the Dark, from the TOS, and as recently as like the last season of Discovery. Remember with that one planet they were on with the camouflage bugs and that, and they realized they're just protecting their nests and that. It forces you to empathize with something that's terrifying, right? It might not, it might not, it's harder to, Star Trek does a great job in doing this. As far as Wesley, Wesley always he's that clutch guy, right? As you said, MC, in that he was always a little arrogant, because he always seemed to like do, exceed, like back on the Enterprise and that. But it back on the Enterprise, it left him a little cocky. Like, how do you lose a bunch of nanites, right? Like put them in it. You left them in a little glass jar and forgot the lid. Uh, So that's kind of typical Wesley, but it's nice that without his powers, at least, he still forces himself to kind of reflexively go back to those old technological instincts of his. And that. So it was nice, wrapped up like, we knew that, this wasn't the end of the kids and that. So it was, it wrapped itself up. It was a good way of wrapping up this episode and moving into the final phase of the season.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I already talked about my problems with the Loom being a prisoner, and this just kind of like impacts on it like even further. Like the Loom gets away and like kills two of Asencia's guards, and then just does nothing to Asencia. Like, why? Just why? I seriously, Prodigy writers, I love you. I don't mean to be so critical of you. But this is not it.
This is what MC does, people.
I don't understand this. I don't understand it at all. The Wesley being Wesley, I really love this. And you're right. This is Wesley just at 40 rather than Wesley pretending to be Matt Smith. And this is a Wesley that I've missed. I mean, I've always been an unapologetic Wesley Crusher fan. It was probably because I was a kid when I first watched TNG, so I had a crush on Will Wheaton.
He was our perspective into the show, right? Into the set.
Yeah, so I like having him back because I mean, Matt Smith is cool and all, but I got one of those already. So I like him like being able to remotely pilot a ship because he used to be really good at this kind of stuff. And I like seeing that again. So we close out on the episode with everyone heading back to Voyager. Everyone's happy they escaped, except for Gwyn, who's worried about the Civil War. Janeway assures her that they're not going to be following Jellicoe's orders, and she's going to help out. And so now we've set up the finale for the season. I think we can fold our thoughts on this ending in with our final thoughts on both of these episodes. So We'll start with Hawk.
It comes down to that line. Janeway kind of realizes, it's like boldness is not just the purview of the young. It's like, if anything, these kids have kind of reawakened that in her, which is why she, she does these, she goes in like she does with the away team, uh, and defiance of Jellicoe and that, because these kids, she recognizes something in these kids that she felt she might have lost in that sitting behind the desk as a vice admiral, um, and now she realized she's there again. She's that old Janeway, which I loved. These two episodes are a great way of carrying us into the finale of the season. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
And you don't have to say anything else, Eric.
It's interesting, not interesting. It's funny that the kids were trying to convince Janeway, you know what, this is what we need to do. Like, we know you're not going to agree with us, because so often earlier on this season, she's sort of been like, we can't do this. We have to follow, the way we have to do things in Starfleet. And the fact that she's just like, you know what, you're right. We are going to get there. We have to do this. We have to prevent this onslaught from happening. Like, it shows the next step moving forward for them in the relationship. And it shows that, like Hawk said, there might have been some complacency with her being behind a desk for such a long time. And she's the Janeway. Like, her being on, like, her being down there that's who she is. Like, even Picard, when, like, in the first season, like, he was so, like, sad and bored that he was on his vineyard, and as soon as he got behind a ship, like, the brightness in his eyes, like, everything sparkled again, and he was like, this is me in my real body for one more time before I became a golem. Like, it was
Don't think about that.
but like the captains that we love, like Picard and Janeway, like, we love them for their diplomacy and stuff, but they're not meant to be behind a desk. They're meant to be there in the action, in the thick of it, and making things happen. And that's Janeway. Like, she sees that with these kids, and oh man, what a great way to lead into the finale.
Yeah. So, this ending a little bit. I mean, it's cute. It's a nice little wrap up, and it does carry us into the finale. As for these two episodes, I thought these episodes kind of suffered a little bit from being between, like, these two huge two-parters. Mm-hmm. Like, the last two episodes were like a movie, and the finale is like a movie. And if you put all 6 of them together, they feel like one long movie. But the part in the middle is always the kind of the build up. Like, I noticed, like, in this, in Brink, there was a lot of info dumping about, how Asencia has Wesley and all of this different kind of stuff. And no, they can't split up. And then this episode was a little bit more character driven. And I mean, I love getting stuff about Wesley and Janeway and everything, but it kind of, when you look at it all together, the momentum is not quite as high as you would expect from the Ascension, I believe, is the name of the last two-parter.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the name of the next episode.
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros, right. So yeah, I mean, they're workhorses, I think, but they carry us to the place that we need to go. But they're not my favorite. Yeah, so it was okay.
It makes me wonder if, like, how people fan edit things into, like, movies, like I recently saw the Ahsoka one that Kai Patterson did, which was actually quite good. But I wonder how they would edit this together into one movie.
I think, I have actually done one of those fan edits. I made a movie version of all of the flashbacks of Angelus and Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and turned it into a movie.
I want to see that.
I will send it to you if I can find it, because hopefully it was not on my drive that got toasted. But I thought it was really good. So I'll try to send that to you. But yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. Like, this 6 episodes could very easily be turned into a movie. And I think these 2 episodes would probably be pretty trimmed down.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much Scooby-Dooing you can put in a movie.
I think they'd take out the entire bit with the loom.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels like it could just go missing. You could get rid of it, right?
Yeah, they just get them and then do the last bit.
Yeah.
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 I could see that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Now we're all thinking of our own edits, what we would do.
Yeah, no, totally. There's actually some really fun Star Trek edits out there. Though don't look up any of the ones for the Kelvinverse movies because they're all really mean. They're all from people who don't like the Kelvinverse movies.
Oh.
Why do they put so much effort into that if they don't like it?
Eventually I will make one because I really want to make one where it's the Harrison edit and it takes out every mention of Khan.
Yes, please. Please do that. Yes, please.
Okay. So we're totally like going off the rails. This is why we need Julian.
No, this is better.
So
Chaos reigns.
No mailbag this week, but we do have a subspace to poll. Who wants to take that?
Go for it, Hawk.
All right. We asked Trek Threads what they thought about Brink and Touch of Grey, and at the time of this episode, this is what they had to say. 55% said a real humdinger.
Yes, that's a great one that went there. I forgot about that line.
18% said, "Oh, is there a meeting?" Another 18% said, "Call your mother."
Damn straight.
And 9% said, "A threat to us all."
Humdinger? Really?
I'll save you a seat.
That was so random.
So good.
I love the doctor.
I love him so much. I'm so happy he's going to be in Starfleet Academy. Like,
I know, right?
Overjoyed. Let's go stalk him in Toronto. I'm just joking.
Eric doesn't mean that. But if you want to invite us to the set, we would love that. When we would be very well behaved and we would not bother.
We would just be little kittens with you.
We would.
Anyways, so that's the end of the episode. Next week, we will be covering the finale, Ouroboros, and that should be a real humdinger.
Oh, and don't forget to watch the women for the Star Trek thing.
Yes, go watch the Women of Star Trek for Kamala, which is possibly going on while we're showing this. Or maybe we'll come out with this early. I don't know. Anyways, for Hawk, for Eric, live long and prosper. Majram, sarcastic Vulcan salute. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.